It'll be the longest.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Trails Collective. Welcome to this short little pre-show that we're going to do for the 2023 Breakneck Point Trail Marathons. I'm Ellie Pell. I'm joined by Brian Vanderheiden of Steep Endurance and Sam Lewis, professional runner for On. So welcome to the live show, guys. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So Brian has run Breakneck before. Sam, this is going to be your first time. So I can't wait to get the synopsis afterwards. I think it's going to be pretty wild. But Brian has also written a pretty extensive course and competitor preview. So Brian, why don't you take it away? You've run the course. I just looked at it and been like, I'm so glad I'm not running. So why don't you just sort of tell us what is Breakneck?
It's brutal. It's I described it the first year I ran it in 2017 as the toughest trail at that time that I'd run, trail race, and definitely trail marathon that I'd run. It's you got to pay attention all the time. It's technical. The downhills are rocky. You got the scramble up Breakneck, and Ian seems to change the course every year, so you can't really get too comfortable with it. I mean, usually the first 8 or 9 miles are about the same every year, and then there's always some different iterations with the course, but it's definitely one of the toughest, if not the toughest, definitely in the Northeast, I would say. Marathon wise, it's definitely the toughest. I haven't run too many other races other than in the Northeast, a few out west, but we don't have altitude here, so you don't have to deal with that. But it's just a beast of a course. It certainly lives up to its name.
Yeah, so it's about 26 to 27 miles. And how many feet of gain do we have?
I think it's about 80. It's over 8,500 feet this year.
Okay, yeah, I remember last year Ian was planning it, and he somehow wanted to get to 10,000 feet,
Right.
And I had to look at him because I was sitting right there, and I was like, Ian, that is stupid. You're just adding elevation and he had to admit, yeah, that was kind of like a dick move. So he didn't add that. But I have to be honest, the trail is really, sometimes it's hard to find. So I imagine that it must change every year because I doubt that there must just be other trails that you can take up around the mountain. Is this true?
Well, I mean, this year, I think last year what he did is he changed the course, added in this area called Bull Hill, just to make it, with a little more elevation, whatnot. But the Breakneck climb has always been in there. There's always some sort of a climb up to the tower at Beacon Mountain. This year, the Breakneck climb, the bottom third of it is closed. So there's a new trail that they're approaching Breakneck climb about, a third of the way from the bottom. It's actually a pretty nice trail. It's steep, but it's not super rocky. It's pretty runnable. It's almost like a carriage trail with like railroad ties. Just you're stepping up constantly, but it's a completely brand new trail. I guess it's called the Nimham Trail, which comes into to Breakneck, and then you got the big climb after that, and the descent off of Breakneck is not easy as well. It's pretty lots of steps and stairs and jumps, and then you get into that after you get down to the river there, or I guess it's the stream. Then you got to work your way back towards the start finish. And there's a couple of little bumps and descents along the way. And then the back half of the course, I have not run the back half of the course this year. It's definitely not the same as last year, because you have to go back up Beacon Mountain from the other side in the second half of the race. And in my opinion, that climb is just as tough as the Breakneck climb. So and then you got another mountain after that.
So carbon plated shoes for this marathon? Yes? No?
Definitely not.
So, Sam, how's your training been leading up to the race? I know I saw you at Gorge about a month ago, and you looked really fit and got a solid second place there. How's training been in Idaho?
It's been awesome. I've had a really, this has probably been the most consistent 4 months I've had in a really long time, just battling some different, like a little bit of an injury cycle the last 2 years. So I'm super excited, and I'm just ready for it to be like a wild adventure out there.
Yeah. So what marathons have you done before? What trails have you, I guess, attempted, and how did they go?
Yeah, I've actually only done one trail marathon before. It was the Moab Trail Marathon in 2021. At that time, that was the longest race I'd done, and well, I guess that's still the longest race I've done. But that only took about 3.5 hours. So this, add on about another 90 minutes. So that'll be fun to explore, just like being on my feet that long. I have done some different, like at the Steens Mountain Running Camp, the running camp for high schoolers. I'm a staff member out there, and so we'll spend a couple days on our feet. I've been out there for 12 hours on my feet, so I'm comfortable with. I'm not intimidated by the time. This will definitely just be like the most elevation gain I've had in a race, and then add that with the distance. So it'll be fun.
So last year you represented the U.S. in Thailand at the U.S. Mountain Running World Championships. So why don't you talk a little bit about your experience there? How was the terrain out there? Do you think that was a good eye opener and maybe similar to what you think you're going to experience tomorrow?
I think that nothing, as of right now, I have yet to have experienced anything that beats the technicality of like East Coast trails. I think European races are similar, but like Thailand doesn't even compare. I did part of the course on Monday for Breakneck, and it's wild. And then I did the Breakneck Scramble the other day, and like there's not too many races where you actually like are on all fours climbing up a mountain, like or the side of a rock, like a flat face rock, like that. Just you don't have that. I don't have as much experience racing in Europe, but I think the technicality compares significantly more to what we're going to see tomorrow. So Thailand technicality wise doesn't like this is on a whole nother level. I think the big factor in Thailand was heat for a lot of humans, and that was such an amazing experience. It was my third time representing Team USA, and those are just some of the most amazing opportunities to, represent Team USA and then just be surrounded by so many amazing people. Thailand did a phenomenal job, and the Team USA volunteers like Paul Kirsch and Tom Hooper, big East Coast humans, are just amazing, and they were out there and truly made it just a memorable experience.
Yeah, you said you have been going through a couple of injuries recently. Were you still dealing with that in Thailand?
I had no. I mean, my build for Thailand was all right. Like it wasn't. I had a weird summer, so I was finally able to figure things out in the fall. I definitely still like. I think in Thailand I didn't have. It was a little bit of a rough race. I think ultimately when it came down to it, I think because of the different things I was navigating during the year, I just didn't have as much racing under my belt. And there's a reason we race to like kind of practice racing. So I was just it was just a little bit more of a rough day than I was hoping. And so that's what's been really cool about the last 4 months is I've actually raced sooner this year than I have since 2019, I think. So that's just been great to just get more races under my belt and to like practice that stimulus a little bit more. And I've raced a variety of distances the last 4 months, from a 30K to a 4-mile vertical race. So it's been good to hit on a variety of stimuluses to get me ready for tomorrow.
Well, good luck. It's going to be quite the day out there.
Yes.
And you can jump off whenever you need to. I know it's only 5 here, but it's 7 out there. So, jump off whenever you need to. But I feel like now let's sort of turn to your competitors and who you're going to be racing both with and against. I think that Breakneck is going to be a course where like the first 20 miles, you might be like trying to get through it together with some other women. And then like the last 6 is like, all right, it's no holding hands now. It's time to throw down. So, Brian, why don't we start breaking down the women's field pretty quickly? So, I think the headliner coming back is going to be, we have the champion from last year, Michelle, coming back. And if I can give any advice to anybody, that's because Bailey also, who's running tomorrow as well. I said, just follow Michelle as long as you can, because she knows every in and out of this trail, and then like sprint past her at the end, which is so terrible. Michelle will probably kill me for
That's
saying
awful.
that, but it's a good strategy. She just knows the trail.
Yes.
So I don't know, Brian, why don't you take us through some of the other female competitors?
Well, I mean, just like you said about Michelle, she did tons of recon, in preparation for the race last year, and it completely paid off for her. I mean, she won by over 20 minutes last year. It was amazing to see how fast she ran on that course than she had previously. And I know she's been on the course this year too, because like I said, the Ian kind of changes the course, a little bit every year. So she will definitely be up towards the front. I don't think she's the fastest runner in the field. Definitely not speed wise. But being used to the trails and used to the technicality of Breakneck will definitely be an advantage for her. We can kind of go through the quickly through the list here. I kind of split it up between Beast Coasters and West Coasters. You got everybody from Cara Davis, who's, she's won Manitou, she's won Cat's Tail, she's won Seven Sisters. And she will definitely be in the mix because she's comfortable on the techie trails. I don't know a lot about Britta from Vermont, but anybody who runs 7.5 hours at Vermont 50, even though it's a fairly non-technical trail road, or excuse me, trail 50 miler.
So Britta has a couple FKTs, I think, on the Pemi Loop and the Prezi Traverse. Yep. And then she did go out to CCC last year. I don't think she had quite the day she wanted, but very solid. She's kind of like you, Sam. She's, I think, in a PhD program. She so very intelligent person. And just, she grew up like on the trails and in Vermont. And so she's super, super good crusher. So I'll be looking forward to seeing how she does.
Yeah. And then you've got, you got Jess Marion from Maine, more of a Nordic skier, but she definitely, does some of the FKTs in the White Mountains. You got a couple of girls coming back from last year who finished in the top 5, Michaela Ingalls and Laurel Moyer. If you look at Laurel Moyer, she actually was 5th at the Sunapee VK last weekend, although, it's a pretty short race, but still, she definitely has some climbing legs. And then also on the Beast Coast list, we have Katie O'Regan. She was 2nd at Breakneck. She's won Heiner 25K and then won the Mount Tammany 40 miler, which was in March in New Jersey. So she also raced Sunapee last weekend, and she was 7th in the up and down. So she will definitely be, it's just such a stacked field. We'll get to the men's later, but I think the women's field is even more stacked than the men's. As far as West Coasters, I think you've got 3 or 4 runners that are going to challenge Michelle up towards the front. Brittany Charbonneau, who's, she's won Lake Sonoma. She's won the Moab Red Hot. She's, had high finishes at Broken Arrow. And she's got speed. She's run a 50K in 3:13. So, and then do you want to talk about Bailey Ellie, since you know her pretty well?
Sure. So I had the privilege of training a little bit with Bailey here in Boulder, and then we also went to Gorge together. She and Sam kicked my ass. It was great. Loved it. And so Bailey's got a lot of good climbing on her legs. She's super fast. She has a lot of the segments around here just because where she does workouts. I know she's also been spending some time on the bike too, just to make sure her legs are really ready for a race like this. Yep. Coming off a Gorge, I know she was a little bit sore. And so she felt like she couldn't, it took a little bit I felt like for her body to like respond again to the running. And so she took some time that she needed, decided not to do Sunapee Scramble last weekend in order to be ready for Breakneck.
Nope.
So I'm thinking that if she really takes my strategy of like follow Michelle and then sprint at the end, it's a really good strategy, I tell you. So I feel like with a lot of the West Coast fast people, it's going to be also like when you fall, not getting frustrated.
Right.
I know that if I ever did this race, I would probably like fall a lot or just get frustrated that I felt like I was walking a lot. And I think that that's like sort of par for the course, which, and so I think that like, and in the case of Brittany, it's like, she's so fast. And so but it's just a slow race in comparatively to like a fast road 50K, which is the 3:13 that she ran. So I think that, Bailey's definitely ready to crush. It's going to be one of those where like, it's going to be hard to tell whether somebody like Care, who is just so durable and so strong, like, I mean, she's not going to fall. She's not going to break. So it's like, you got to watch her. 'Cause she's like, she might not start out fast, but she's going to catch you.
Yeah. No, there's definitely some speed up the front. I think somebody like Brittany's going to try to get out fairly quick so that she has more of kind of a clear trail and whatnot. The other contenders, you got Bailey, who you spoke of, Christina Mascarenas, who the big thing that kind of stand out for me was that she's won the Pikes Peak Marathon twice. So she certainly can climb and descend, because you got to do that on both those courses.
And Tina was on the 40K team, the world team this past year. And Brittany was on the 80K team. So you got, and Michelle was on the 40K team. So you got 3 former world team members. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then you, Sam, you're certainly going to be up there with, you had a top 5 finish at Broken Arrow, the 23K there. And then you did the VK last week?
Yeah, just as a prep, just another stimulus. I think that's what's exciting about running for 5 hours, is that's what I'm ready for. And the vertical race was like a sprint. My coach and I talked about it, and we're like, VO2 max wise probably wasn't ready just for that, but it was like perfect stimulus. And I felt I covered really well coming off of it. And so it just made me a little bit more like fired up and for this weekend too.
Cool. Yeah, it's certainly gonna be an exciting race. I know with this year they're starting both the half and the full at the same time.
We forgot to mention that. So that's a little interesting. So the full is a qualifier for the 40K world team, and the half is part of the Solomon Golden Trail series. So it's kind of funny because actually somebody in the marathon, I mean, you guys are good enough that the half has some fasties, but it's not as deep. Theoretically, somebody could win the half and the full. It's possible. I know Ian thinks Max King's gonna do it, which you never know. Ageless wonder. He just keeps crushing. But he's got to contend with Eli Hemming. So that's pretty interesting. It's a kind of an interesting format, and I think stuff like this just makes Ian it's his gears rolling. So that it'll be pretty interesting to see a couple of how that shakes out.
And I've heard that Ian was telling me a few of the people, at least one man and one woman, are gonna try to double up from the half, because if you get to the halfway, and if you want to keep going and do the marathon, you can do that as well.
Yeah. Who is it? Is it Eli and Tabor?
Yeah, that's what he told me.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So because those two are both so fast, so they're definitely gonna be up towards the front.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Because honestly, it's like a regular marathon. You still have to save a lot for the second half. So we'll see how much they have left.
And I think the second half's tougher than the first half of the course. That first climb coming off the first half is going to be brutal. That coming up the back half of Beacon Mountain, that climb, you come down that climb at about 3.5, 4 miles into the course, and now you have to go back up it in the second half of the race. It's just brutal too. You just can't go fast. You can't run it. there's no way. It's just a little bit of rock scrambling. It's technical. It's really, it's going to be, that's I think is where the race is going to be won, is where you're going to see a lot of separation between the half and the full people. So
yeah, just to finish out our women's women to watch for tomorrow in the full, Claire Rhodes is going to be interesting. So she's from Alaska, and I knew I had seen her name before, but I couldn't remember where. And it's because she won like Bandera 50K, Mammoth Trail Fast 50K, and Moab Trail Marathon last year. And then she just got third at Formidable. So she's kind of, she's been like running a lot of technical stuff and sort of, but staying in like a relatively comfortable mileage. So I'll be interested to see how she does at a course like this, because it's definitely not as smooth as Mammoth Trail, but it's also not an elevation, like you said. So.
Right. Should we talk about the men's?
Sure. Yeah. Let's go for the men's. And if anybody wants to know, kind of get like the notes of what we're talking about, Brian has written a great recap, and in it is like one of my favorite videos of all time of like my friend David Hedges and Max King like duking it out at the end. And it's a video by Remy LaRue, who he actually just got 5th at Sun and P last week, so he's not going to be out there this weekend. But yeah, just a great duel at the end of the men's race last year, which I'm really hoping that we get again this year. That would be super fun to catch. But yeah, let's start with the men. Brian, why don't you take us there?
Well,
I'm going to sign off, Ellie, real fast. Thank you so much.
Good luck, Sam. Have fun.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Good luck.
Thank you. You too.
So, we've got Max King, who came out last year as a few of the West Coasters to run the race. He's formerly from upstate New York, where Ian is, and it was great to see him bring his talent to the race. I couldn't believe how fast those guys ran last year on that course, because I thought the course was more difficult last year than it was even the year before. I don't know what kind of shape he's in this year. I guess we'll find out. I know he raced Sun of P last weekend. I think he was in the top 10 in the up down. I'm not sure if he raced the VK or not. But I think as the race gets longer, he does better. He's better in that kind of marathon to 50K, 50-mile range. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely the favorite, I would say. Not the overwhelming favorite. There's certainly going to be some guys up towards the front that have some speed. Guys like West Coast guys like Morgan Elliott and Garrett Corcoran, Jackson Brill. You've got Noah Williams, who's done well at Pikes Peak. Michelino Sensory from Idaho. He's also done well at Pikes Peak and Spigo 50K. And then Lars Arneson, who's like an OCR guy, who certainly can race on the steep stuff. As far as the Beast Coasters, Matt Lipsy is kind of at the top of the list, although
he's actually not racing, and
I
neither
was just going to ask you that. Yeah.
Or Patrick Heron. They are not racing this. And Lee Berube is also not racing the half. So Ian's just like, okay. So we have a couple drops. So Matt is not racing. He's dealing with a little bit of an injury.
Yeah, I know he's been dealing with a hamstring injury. It's too bad. I would have loved to see him take another shot at this after he got lost last year because some markers were pulled, in the last.
Yeah, I mean, he's another case of where I think it was a little confusing, but also he was very frustrated when he got back. And I think it was one of those where the course correction just wasn't going to happen because he was just so frustrated. And so, he was doing super well and then just off course, and then you're tired. I don't think he took nutrition at one point. And so right. I think a lot of confounding factors. And so, I was really rooting for him this year, but there's always next year.
It was, I remember after the race, looking at the Strava flybys, and he came to an intersection. He turned right. He came back to the intersection, went the correct way, and then came back. But after he made the initial right and came back, In the meantime, David Hedges and I think Eric LaPuma were running together. They took the correct turn because David had the course on his watch, and Matt missed him by a couple of minutes. Otherwise, he would have been right there at the end as well.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating, but well, heal up, Matt, and we'll see you next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately, David's not coming back this year. He's got a couple of other things going on he moved to North Carolina. So we'll have to get him back next year too for a real good rematch. Another person I'm looking forward to watching is Ben Robinson.
Yep.
We could jokingly call him Smiling Ben because he's just so nice. And he ran CCC. He's had a couple of races this year and sort of just trying to race back into shape, get some more confidence. I think he just ran Heiner 25K. I think he won that in course record. So he's ready to go. And so I'm hoping that we're going to have a Smiling Ben on the podium this year. That would be really great.
I think he went out to Black Canyon too, but I think he DNF'd about, maybe halfway through.
Yeah, it was a tough race out there.
Yeah.
Not East Coast weather. It's not very easy to train in East Coast weather for that one.
Exactly. But yeah, he'll he went out fast last year and he was up in the top 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And then
race.
Another person that's pretty he's done extremely well in this past year is Stephen Lange.
Yep.
Won Breakneck half last year, Manitou's Revenge. He's got a bunch of like FKTs and stuff. I remember when we were on doing the Trails Collective live show more regularly, I felt like he was on every other week with like some new FKT that was just bonkers. It wasn't like these like Strava segments. It was just like crazy stuff. And so I wonder if he's got some of that leg speed to stay up with some of the other guys that might have a little bit more speed on him.
Yeah, and I mean, look, he's won. I don't think he's won the marathon at Breakneck, but he's been second, and he's got one of the 5 fastest times on the course.
Yeah.
And then you got, of course, Ben Nephew, who races Breakneck almost every year. He's getting up there in age like myself, but he's still pretty fast. I know it looks like he hasn't been running a ton. He bikes a lot, but he will certainly give it his best, and
he'll still finish top 10. He might.
I think so. Yeah.
The podium. He's incredible. I remember last year he came to it's the halfway point, and our Coke at the aid station was not flat, and so he couldn't put it in his bottle, and it was kind of sad because we were like, I'm sorry, our Coke is still carbonated, Ben. But yeah, just another person that runs so much on that technical terrain, that like a Care Davis almost, that
yes.
We have such deep fields that I think a lot of it is going to be, you're going to throw like 12 eggs against the wall, and we might get like 3 of the younger guns that will make it, but then Ben is going to be right there like 4th because like he just knows how to run the race.
Yep. And then Sam Kirk, who's had a pretty good 2022. He won Laurel Highland 70 miler and then ran just over 6 hours at JFK the year before. And I know he's been training quite a bit. Jared Burdick as far as I know, he's still running. I texted him earlier in the week. But I know he's been dealing with a little bit of an injury. So it's certainly going to be an exciting race. I think that I think Max will be up front because he's the defending champion. He wants to stay up there with those guys. And I think you're going to see Ben Robinson in the mix. Stephen Lang will be up there because he knows the course really well. And then there's a slew of, other West Coast guys like Morgan and Garrett, they've got some speed and they've got some good resumes, on the tough mountain courses.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see Garrett Corcoran. He ran 5:29 at JFK last year, won it. And then Jackson Brill, also another young gun. I remember, I think the last time I saw him was at Black Canyon last year. I think he DNF'd, but he's won Quad Rock, which is happening tomorrow. And so, I feel like there are some people that, because injury just happens to us, so it's like we kind of forget like that the results that people may have had like maybe a year or so ago or 2 years ago, and but they're just like kind of like ripe and ready for it, like kind of what Sam said.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the West Coast guys are, they'll be ready for the climbing, but will they be ready for the technicality that is Breakneck? Especially in the downs. I mean, just some of the descents are just, they're just I don't know, I can't describe it. You have to pay attention all the time. You can't let your mind wander, otherwise you're going to go down.
Yeah, and then you, like me, throw a pity party and get frustrated and then start to blame Ian for all your life problems.
Yep.
So do you want to real quick go through the half marathon?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, and then we'll put a bow on it and see you tomorrow. Yep. So in the women's half, we have defending champion Kirby Mosenthal. She just won Cat's Tail in October. Super strong runner out of New York. And then Tabor Hemming, she's from Colorado, from over here. She is extremely strong runner, just an awesome person too. She and her husband have both come out to run again. Tabor won Whiteface last year. Actually, another situation where the two people ahead, or the one person ahead of her, went off course, and then she just charged. And so that's kind of like, I think it's pretty cool that like in our sport where, you kind of have to take like the little bit of luck plus like, what is success? It's like luck plus preparedness. And that's kind of how Tabor seems to do things.
Who went off course last year?
I don't remember what her name is. So sorry. It might have been Rachel Tomajek, but I'm not positive. Don't quote me on that. Yep. Or maybe it was actually Sophia, and then because I think she might have gotten second. So it was a close race at the beginning, but yeah. And so Tabor also just set the FKT up Green Mountain right here. I'm actually looking at it. And so I think she's primed and ready to go.
Yep. Yeah, a couple other women.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying a couple other women from, mainly from the East Coast. Sarah Connor from New Haven, Connecticut. She won a lot of races last year here in Connecticut. I know she's been dealing a little bit with injuries, but I spoke to her earlier this week, and she's definitely ready to contend for the podium and race pretty well. And then Alexandra Finn Atkins from nearby in Cornwall, New York. She's been third at Twisted Branch, second at Manitou's last year, and she's been on Breakneck a couple of times too. So she was eighth in the marathon last year, so she'll be comfortable on the course. And then Katrina Beltran-Caro from Boston, Massachusetts. She came to one of my races last year, the Macedonia 25K. She finished, 5 or 10 minutes in front of Sarah Connor. So she's definitely got some skills on the trail. And then Carmen Bango from Sharon, Vermont. The only thing that I got from her, she won Seven Sisters in a pretty quick time in 2:15. So Seven Sisters is pretty similar.
Ladies do. I've heard of Sarah Connor. I sometimes frequent the Cultra trail running podcast, and they talk about her a lot. So she's pretty popular down there. So
yeah,
I really hope
she's probably one of the fastest runners in Connecticut, I would say.
Yeah, I really hope that somebody, because I mean, to be clear, like Kirby and Tabor are probably the favorites. I would even say probably Tabor more so, just because she's just got such a depth. But I'm really interested to see if like somebody gives them a run for their money, and it'll be pretty awesome to watch that.
Well, just because you're going to have all these fast people in the full marathon too. I mean, it's you kind of don't know like who's. You might have somebody from the full who decides, with 2 or 3 miles to go to halfway, that they're just going to race for the spot or race for that series winner.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to see how this shakes out tomorrow, because I really like it'd be pretty bonkers if Tabor kept going, because I don't even know if she's done a full marathon before.
I don't think so.
Hey, I mean, it'll be awesome to watch. And then her partner Eli is also running tomorrow. I think I think you probably put Lee there as like maybe one of the top contenders. He's not racing, so yeah, I would definitely say Eli is also Tabor's better half is also a top contender for tomorrow.
Yep. then you got Liam Merrill from Portland, Oregon. He might be one of those people that tries to win the half and then maybe keep going for the full. He was fourth place at the Sunapee up and down last weekend, which I think did that get him a spot on the team?
I don't think so. No. Or maybe it did. I don't know. But yeah, Liam. So he won Gorge just about a month ago, and I think actually I joke, but I'm pretty sure he was wearing Alpha Flies or some sort of carbon plated shoe
at Gorge.
Yeah, so I'll be interested to see what he chooses tomorrow.
Well, that would be funny if he wears those for Breakneck.
I mean, that'd be a flex if he won and if he stays upright. You never know.
That's crazy. And then you got a couple of guys from Canada coming down who certainly have raced some of the technical stuff. David Jaker and Samuel Poher. And then, a couple of guys from New York City and Boston, Etan Levavi, who's got some good results, not necessarily on the technical stuff, but he's certainly pretty speedy. And then Stephen Young, who was 7th at the Chocorua 25K New Hampshire, which probably is a pretty similar type course to Breakneck in terms of difficulty.
Whenever I see Chocorua, I've seen it a couple times, and I always think of that cereal, Count Chocula or whatever. Yes. So good.
You're always thinking about food, aren't you?
I mean, it is my job, so I'd say about 90% of my day.
That's right.
When I'm not sleeping.
Yes.
Cool. Well, Brian, do you what are you looking forward to most tomorrow? You're running with your son. How do you feel like that's going to go?
I'm just hoping he doesn't drop me tomorrow, because I am terribly out of shape compared to what I was last year. I did the full last year on Saturday and then did the half with him on Sunday, and I felt like I was in pretty good shape last year, and he dropped me on the first climb, and then I finally caught up to him at the top of Beacon Mountain. But yeah, tomorrow it's just about, I'm just going to kind of let him go and try to hang on to him. He's my son's 18. He's autistic, but he just absolutely loves to run the trails. And we're hoping to kind of sneak under 4 hours tomorrow for the half, which would be great for him. So,
cool.
And maybe do the full with him next year. So,
well, good luck to you. Good luck to your son. And I don't know. I feel like this is a pretty good pre-show. Should we just kiss the pig and put a bow on it?
Yeah, I mean, I do have one more question for you though. If you want to tell everybody what's going on with the live stream tomorrow.
Oh yes, okay. So we're going to have a couple of different people out on different points of the course, probably around the aid stations. And then we're also going to have me at HQ, basically with probably Steph and Amelia sort of emceeing the race as it goes. Because, streams go down, things like that happen. So we'll have a constant stream at the finish line. And then at a couple of different points along the course, I think a main one is going to be, I'm having Phil be at mile 11.5-ish, and so hopefully he can run a little bit with the half marathon finishers, and then I'll have him go to mile 25, and then hopefully he can run with some of the full marathon finishers. So that's going to be hopefully something exciting to watch. And then we'll have Jay also out there with hopefully gimbals and cell phones, and hopefully our coverage doesn't go down. But and then we'll have a finish line cam, and so we'll be trying to cue everybody in and throughout the live stream tomorrow as best as we can. And yeah, so pay attention to that video, which is scheduled and posted on all the channels you're watching this on. And so that's kind of what's going to go down tomorrow, and it should be a pretty great time. We're starting at 6:30 tomorrow morning.
Well, the weather looks great tomorrow, so it could be a little warm for the marathoners in the back half, but up to 70 degrees. But the first couple hours are going to be absolutely gorgeous.
Wonderful. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is a lot of times fast times on that course are due to good conditions. So as long as the conditions are pretty good, I think we could see some pretty fast times going on. Yeah.
Cool.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Brian. And I will see everybody out there tomorrow on the trail. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks again. All right.